first things first, media bin. We can see that, not see that as we prefer. I use Apple I to import our clips, and in this particular circumstance, I'm going to bring in that particular clip, number 3, and this is the right Cineform clip from the right folder here. And then I also want to bring in, from the same shoot, the left Cineform version of it, okay, which is there. So I have a right clip and a left clip. Okay, time code tells us they run the same time. The time code itself isn't contiguous, doesn't work properly together, but we can come to that later. But our naming conventions do. Now, Cineform, Neo3D, Firstlight, it just needs to know which is the right, which is the left. So let's take the right clip, Apple R to turn that to right, Apple L for left. And if we highlight both clips, we're then able to use our controls like the cursor key. We can cycle through. We have a wave panel connected. Now that's coming up in the next guide. I'm going to show you this process with color correction, and we're going to use the wave panel as a picture-in-picture to show you how that works, because it really is a fantastic piece of kit. But first things first, we're just looking at the right eye here that I'm scrolling through. So we see down here, right mentioned here. Now, if we look at this couple here, walking backwards now, and let's make them walk forwards again. Now, I don't have a clapperboard here, and one of the things that's important to mention at this point is the temporal alignment of our clips is essential, i.e. each frame must be occurring from the same point in time. Now, without a clapperboard, which I don't have here, what we have to do is look for sync moments where we can decide upon a moment that is accurate in both clips. Now, I'm doing two things here. This guy's moving his right leg backwards and forwards. He's over here. Okay, and this car comes around the corner here. So I've got 2 points there which align. I can take a reference from now. At that point there, the gentleman's right toe is on the ground, then it's off the ground, the car is just coming around the corner. So that's my point there, okay? So I'm in the right clip. Now using the cursor keys and pushing up, I can now switch to the left clip, okay? And now I can make a decision between the two if they're correct. And as you can clearly see, they're not. There's something very slightly different about those. So what I need to do is slip slide the frames. Very easy. I hold down the shift button and use left or right, and I will be able to move the clip that we're looking at, in this case the right one, forwards and backwards in time against the other clip. So the other clip stays exactly where it is. The left eye stays where it is. So we're bringing these into a temporal alignment. So tapping backwards on that, I think just once. That's one frame I've gone back on the right clip. If I now skip to the left clip, still not convinced those are right. So let's go back a little bit forward. Go back to that right clip. And let's drag that. Now that's getting there. I'd be fairly convinced that was right now. So let's just quickly export that. So Apple E will export our clip. At this stage, we can get to call this a new name. I'm going to call this one Stereo Castleton. And I can take a time code I prefer from the left or the right and use that as the master time code for the MUX clip. So let's take the left eye time code. We'll save that. As you can see here, faster than real time in the background, our left and right eyes, as it clearly says up here, are being muxed together. Okay, so we're bringing our clips left and right, and rewrapping them as a stereo pair, which are now temporally aligned. Okay, bring that clip up. Okay, we can play it. You'll hear some of the noise in the background there from the clip itself, so that's going to play through. If we look at the top bar, this blue area here, we have viewing options for 3D. Okay, so first things first, we're just in 2D at the moment. 2D will automatically default to the left eye clip. If we pick the left clip there, you'll be able to see that's the left clip. Okay, if I pick the right clip, see the geometry change and feel that shift, and back again. I've shot with a parallel mount here with twin 7Ds, so we will be able to adjust our convergence, which is really what we want to do to decide the depth. Otherwise, it's probably not going to be that comfortable to look at. Let's do that. Let's begin to affect our clip. So we've moved from the active window. Now, there are a lot of things in here which we can balance out if our clips aren't balanced in terms of the colour, RGB, exposure, contrast, and so on. Now, these clips are pretty close, and to be honest with you, that level of correction is really a special all of its own, and as I say, we're going to use the wave panel to cover that for you. So we'll come back to that in the next clip. But on this particular one, we're going to cut straight to the 3D and start to affect that. Now, what I could do, first of all, is to decide how I want to see the clip. As we saw, we're looking at just the right eye clip. Let's click onion skin. Now, I'm looking at this on a non-3D monitor, an ordinary Apple 24-inch display. So for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm not going to look at it in full color 3D because I've got no way of monitoring it. But if I pick onion skin, we've just made an opacity decision between the two. I can start to make decisions about the 3D without my glasses on. Now, I want to move both eyes relative to each other, okay? I want to literally slip and slide them until I've picked my point of convergence. So I use the convergent handle in here. And if you look in the window there, can you see that beginning to come in, come in? And yeah, we can start to pick a point that we want. So I'm going to start with that. I mean, that's going to work out pretty well to start with. We're going to need to tweak it a bit more, but that'll do for now, just for this demo. Now, we can see on the either side of the screen there, as we've moved our left and right, we've created areas where we don't have an extra 3D information. So those areas become 2D. Now, part of what we do with 3D editing is that we want to look at 2D, and anything really appearing two-dimensionally, i.e. singly within our frame, is going to sit around about screen depth or thereabouts. So at the edge of the screen here, we might be creating areas which make the rest of the frame uncomfortable to look at. So we want to get rid of those, and we've got an easy way of doing that: auto zoom, and that's going to crop in. Now, one of the nice things about the codec is, although we've just effectively zoomed in on our clip by a few pixels, we're not going to really have made this any more blocky or softer to a certain extent because of the high quality of Cineform's active metadata codec. Wavelet-based technology means we don't get blocks, so it's a perfect companion to stereoscopic workflows for that reason alone. I'm sure eventually as we move forward, we'll see ratification in the screen size and capture that we use, using maybe plus 48 pixels on sensor blocks so that we have the slip and slide and keep the native high quality there. But for now, if we're going to work in 1080p, we want to keep the quality as high as possible, having performed any minor zooming. Cineform is the best way of doing that. For the purpose of this demo, anaglyph is really only something that we're just showing you to describe the information here. The whole workflow that I concentrate on is full color. Because worth mentioning at this stage, we have a mux stereo clip there, but our left eye and our right are full resolution. So we've not discarded any information, we're just changing how we look at that information. We're not fundamentally discarding anything at this stage. So I'm going to click anaglyph here. As we see, we have others in here, side by side and fields. These support the JVC 46-inch 3D television I use for editing, and we'll show you how those work in another film later on. But let's pick anaglyph to start with. The first anaglyph gives us red cyan. So clicking that, if we look at this clip here, can we see that we've now added the telltale anaglyph tattoo, if you like, of the red and cyan areas. And it's subtle, which to me always indicates an image which is well on its way to being balanced. Okay, now if I pop my anaglyph glasses on, you get yours if you've got them handy. Pop them on. Yes, we're seeing it sort of 3D, but it's not quite really right, I don't think. Or is it? Let's try and make a decision about that. It's quite possible, as can happen, that I've swapped the assets. The left has become the right has become the left. That makes inside out 3D, which looks a little bit like 3D, but isn't really 3D. Quick way of checking that with Cineform's workflow is to go back to that global and say swap eyes. Okay. And at a glance, you'll see now that's more harmonious. Let's play that through. Yes, we have depth. Things are coming forward. Things are going back. That would appear to me to be the correct orientation. What I can then begin to do is I could play my clip through, make sure I'm set my clip to loop. That will play around, and then I can actually use my convergent toggle to make some decisions as it's playing. So let's make sure I'm happy with that. And I think that's really where this clip should be. This is really where the parallax is all about for it. I have some vertical offset as well, so difficult to perhaps see the benefit over this clip over the compression that it's going to take, going to have for this. But I've tweaked that a little bit, and that's made that even more harmonious.